This is the all-new Charger 2 from BLUETTI. It is the replacement for the very popular Charger 1, and today we're diving all the way in so we can learn everything about it. Let's go. All right, welcome back to DONSLIFE and welcome to the channel. Like I said, today we're taking a deeper dive into the brand new to the market Charger 2 from BLUETTI. This is the next evolution of their alternator and solar charging system built on the success of the Charger 1 with some meaningful upgrades. In this video, I'm going to walk you through everything, how it works, what it does, what's changed, and how you can use it in realistic situations. Now, because we're way up here in Canada and it is incredibly cold outside, it is the dead of winter, we're going to do most of our video here in the garage on the workbench. But stick around because we are going to see what it's like to install on my truck, but most of this install will focus on their Charger 2 as a system, connections, app control, and real use cases. Now, I've been a longtime supporter of BLUETTI, so I have amassed some of their products that we will use in today's demonstration. But to better inform you of your options, BLUETTI sent me their B1210 lithium battery. They've also sent over their Hub D1 DC power hub. These are accessories that I'll be pairing with one of my trusty BLUETTI power stations to show you how the system all works together. So whether you're coming from the Charger 1 or you're brand new to DC vehicle charging altogether, I'm very confident by the end of this video, you'll have a great understanding of what this does and if it makes sense for you. So let's get into it. Let's start with the basics. What is the Charger 2 from BLUETTI? At its core, it's an alternator and solar charger, but it's really designed as a smart energy hub for vehicle-based power systems. It can pull power from your vehicle, from solar, or both at the same time, and route that power intelligently to your power stations and your accessories. So instead of being a one-way charger, it becomes part of a larger system that connects your truck, your solar input, and your power station together. That system-based approach is what sets the Charger 2 apart from simple DC to DC chargers. And it sets up a lot of the improvements which we're going to talk about next. Before we go any further, it's important to talk about Charger 2 versus the original Charger 1. Charger 1 was very popular for a reason. It gave people a reliable way to charge their power stations from their vehicles, and it worked very well in smaller setups. But as power stations got bigger, people started adding solar, fridges, tools, and taking longer trips, there was a need for something more capable. Charger 2 is the world's first smart energy hub that combines alternator and solar input for up to 1200 watts of total charging power. Charger 2 brings higher total charging power, supports vehicle and solar input at the same time, and is designed to manage a more complete system, especially in SUVs, trucks, camper vans, and RVs. One of the many features I love about the Charger 2 is that you can adjust how much power it pulls from your vehicle's alternator. Not every vehicle has the same alternator output. Instead of being locked into one aggressive power setting, you can adjust the charging power down, play it safe, and then gradually adjust it until you're confident. That makes this product far more approachable for DIY installs, and it helps protect your vehicle's electrical system. It's a simple feature, but it adds a lot of confidence when you're going to set this up. And now you have the very exciting benefit of reverse charging, which means a lot less stress about a dead starter battery. I'll show this feature later in this video. Let's take a closer look at the hardware itself, because this is designed to be in a vehicle, not just sitting here on a bench. The Charger 2 uses a rugged housing which helps with the durability and heat management when you're pulling higher charging loads. Cooling is handled with a defined intake and an exhaust, so placement and airflow matter. Keep that in mind, especially when installing in truck beds or in cabinets. You also get built-in mounting points and clearly labeled terminals, which makes installation cleaner and much easier. Physically, this feels like equipment that's meant to be mounted, driven with, and used regularly. The Charger 2 is designed to operate across a wide temperature range from -20 Celsius to +60 Celsius. And it has built-in protections to automatically manage output if things get too hot or too cold. That's especially relevant for me right now because it's hovering around -20 outside, which is why most of today's demo is being filmed here at the workbench in my garage. So in real world use, the Charger 2 is protecting itself, your vehicle, your power station. Now you might see reduced output in extreme temperature conditions, but that's the system doing exactly what it's designed to do. So whether you're mounting this in a truck bed like I'm going to, an RV, or a van build, this is designed for real world scenarios, not just ideal ones. Let's look at the standard accessories that come with our Charger 2. Here we have our bi-directional power cable. This one's compatible with my AC 200L power station from BLUETTI. We have our 6-gauge vehicle battery cables, 5 meters long with a 75 amp fuse. We have an MC4 input cable for accepting solar power. We have another MC4 charging cable intended to output power. It also comes with a solar charging cable adapting MC4 connectors to an XT60 connector. We have 6 self-tapping screws, and of course it comes with an owner's manual. Rather than guess where every cable goes and what it does, I'm going to connect each one in order on the Charger 2, and I'm going to explain its function as we go along, because once you see it as a complete system, it totally makes sense. So first we're going to take off the cover so we have access to the ports. So the first port right here is your smart alternator connection. We don't have the ability to demonstrate that today, but if you had a smart alternator, you'd get the appropriate cable and it would plug in right here. And that way the smart alternator can communicate with the Charger 2 and it can adjust itself based on what that alternator is doing. The next port is our alternator connection, or directly wired to the vehicle's battery. So let's do that next. We've got our battery cable here that would go to the battery in your car. Again, we're simulating the battery in the car by using this lithium iron phosphate battery here. Now I put a car on here because I wanted to remind myself to tell you that the Charger 2 is smart enough to know when it's connected to a running vehicle versus being connected to a battery only with no alternator support, and it knows the difference. Make sure you install the fuse that they include on the positive terminal, so 75 amps up to 58 volts. We're going to connect this to positive and negative. Now the battery's off, so there's no risk of shock, but just pay attention to that for safety reasons. Now we just plug them into here and then tighten the terminals down. So now we'll do our first demonstration, just turning on the Charger 2 and seeing if it connects with the app. So we're going to turn on our battery, similar to turning on the vehicle. This light should start to kind of glow or pulse. I saw the fan kind of kick on there for a second. So there's power to the unit. We should be able to go to our app, look for the Bluetooth devices, connect the Charger 2. Okay, so right now you can see that our Charger is connected, but we have no outputs or inputs happening right now because we're not charging anything. So it's not drawing current other than to just turn on basic systems and allow us to connect the app. Other than the power cable, we have a very important cable right here. This is your charging output cable with some MC4 connectors. This will charge all of BLUETTI's power stations and 95% of other brands. We're gonna connect it and we're gonna put it to use. We'll just turn this off while we're making these other connections. A very important thing to understand is this charging output cable on the Charger 2 is configurable. You can set the output voltage and the maximum wattage, or even use presets that exist for pretty much most of BLUETTI's power stations. The key rule is simple. You just want to make sure that you're staying within the boundaries of any power station's solar charging or DC charging input specifications and use the appropriate cable. So as long as you do that, the Charger 2 becomes a flexible, high power DC output source. Now let's put it to the test. First, we're going to start with this guy. This is my BLUETTI AC 180. It comes with this cable here, MC4 connectors to this little plug, and it states right here 12 volt to 60 volt at 10 amps. So we're going to plug that in. We don't need to use the adapter that they gave us. We can connect right to these MC4 cables here. Okay, everything's turned on. Power station's on, battery's on, charger's on. Now we'll just go into the Charger 2. Now remember the key rule here. We need to make sure that our charging output is set up properly for this device. So I'm on custom right now because I was playing with it earlier. So we're going to go select again and look at that. The AC 180 is right there. Confirm. And now it jumped to 56 volts, which is in line in the range to what's on here. So we know it's going to charge safely. So we're going to hit yes. I'm going to back out here. And then we're going to turn our charging on. We should see once I hit this charging switch, this will take a moment and then it will start receiving some input. It shows a solar panel there, so it knows it's getting input. And now you can see the wattage begin to start up. And let's just see what the efficiency looks like here. It says 195, 199. It's going to bounce a little bit. And this is showing 199. So see it's a power station here linked to it, showing 199. If you look at the battery here, the battery's outputting 216 watts. So from right here, we're losing about 16 watts. That's still very efficient. We'll turn that off and we'll hook up the next one. Next, we're going to do this little guy, this hands-free. This actually comes with a backpack. I did a review on that a while back. I'll link it in the video description below, but you can carry this on your back. It's not that heavy. My daughter borrows it all the time for road trips, and it's a cool little device, but we're going to show how we can charge this as well. It's just as simple. Now this one doesn't come with this cable, but we do have the adapter. This is the XT60 connector. You can see the range here. This is going to be important. 12 volts to 28, up to 200 watts. So we're going to plug this in. Plug it into here. Now remember the rule, before we start charging, we need to configure it. I already know that this one is not in the list, so we are going to do a custom adjustment. There's a little piece here that just talks about BLUETTI's not responsible if you get this wrong. So our voltage range again was 12 to 28. So I'm going to put this at 28. And then the maximum charging power, it asks that. And I already told you it's 200 watts, just double confirming. Notice there's a little timer here that needs to expire before it lets you proceed. It just wants to make sure you're getting this right. Hit OK. I agree with these specs, so I'm going to hit yes. Go back to the main screen, and then I'm going to hit charge. So it's just take a moment, and then this should start charging with some input here. Remember, this is a smart charger, so it's adjusting as needed. You can see the battery is doing 185 watts and it is charging at 173. So again, pretty darn efficient. Just for fun, let's connect some more. So now we're going to do one more BLUETTI. It's going to be a bigger power station. It's this guy here. It's the AC200L. We're also going to use this for a different demonstration a little later with a really cool feature. But for the AC200L, comes with this cable right here, little different port to go into the machine. And then we have the MC4 cables. So I'll just hook this up. Take off our adapter here. We're going to follow our rules. Select again, AC200L, confirm, 56 volts. I'm just going to turn it on here so you can see the display. And then we are going to charge. It'll just take a moment to get over here. Now we're at 208 watts. Battery's pulling 214. So again, very efficient. Now we have a product from EcoFlow, the Delta 3 Max. We are going to need the adapter here, and then we are going to connect it to our MC4 charging cable. And I'm just going to turn it around so you can watch the display. I checked the DC charging specs for the EcoFlow, and I just want to play it a little bit safe. So we're going to go into the settings here. This will not be in the list, so it's going to be a custom setting. Select again, hit custom, say yes in the disclaimer. 56 volts is fine. This does up to 60, but charging power I'm going to limit to 300 watts instead of the 500 that they advertise. Just going to turn it on here. Okay, and we're going to start charging. It'll just take a moment. Starting to throttle up now. So you can see it's really that simple. Right now we're pulling 212 watts and charging at 199. Well, now 206, and it just keeps fluctuating a little bit here and there. Well, there we go. We've charged every BLUETTI power station that I had within arm's reach, as well as we charged another brand's power station. Next is your solar input cable. Very easy. Attach it just like the others. It's listed as PV, which those in the know realize that PV means solar input. So I've got my 350 watt solar panel here. Now, unfortunately, because of the weather and the conditions outside, we are not getting any sunlight from these LED bulbs, so we have zero input power. But if we did at full power with the appropriate panel, we would get up to 600 watts of input. Once you couple that with the 800 watts available from your alternator power in your vehicle, all of that managed together, I understand it says 1400 watts total, but you'll get up to 1200 watts of charging power once it's all being managed to your equipment. So next we're going to connect the Hub D1. It's a pretty straightforward installation. We have our positive and negative terminals, and we have an Ethernet style plug which allows communication to the Charger 2 so it can control the behavior of this device. If you're not sure what the Hub D1 does, I'll show you. It offers you a number of DC outputs, clean power with high output all the way up to 50 amps through an Anderson connector. This is very popular with the RV crowd. So we'll come back to the Hub D1 later. Next, we're going to connect this cable here. It's the bidirectional cable. It's the last cable that we're connecting to the Charger 2, and we're going to connect it to our AC200L. This one is proprietary for the AC200L and other BLUETTI battery expansions that use this plug. So essentially, and why I say this, is it's going to see this power station not as a power station, but as a battery expansion. All right, we're all connected. I'm just going to turn on the AC200L. Everything's powered up. I haven't turned the charging on for this yet, but I wanted to show you this. You see right here on the app, it says 55%. That's for a BLUETTI battery. So it's seeing this as a battery now at 55%, not a power station, but an expansion battery. So that's why it's not showing over here, it's showing there. Now when I turn the charging on, this will kick on. I can hear the fan. It'll start to show how much is coming out of the battery right here, or out of the vehicle, and then it is routing it down here. Now I mentioned that we'd come back to the Hub D1. Now we're gonna test it because before we didn't have a running vehicle. We're running off of this lithium battery. So it's actually gonna borrow the current from here because this is a bi-directional cable. So now I can turn this on and we can do a little test. So this is on. We're going to use our set power fridge here, unplug the AC adapter because this is more efficient. And now we can plug it in here and we can get our fridge running. Another cool thing about the app is you can have all of your devices monitored through the cloud. So as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection available to these devices, you'll be able to see what they're doing right here. But if there is no Wi-Fi, don't worry, everything still connects via Bluetooth. Now remember, this is a bi-directional cable, so I can actually take power from my power station, or in this case, expansion battery, and I can send it back through the cable, manage from the Charger 2, and I can actually trickle charge, boost, or send maintenance pulses to my lead acid battery. This is a lithium battery, so I'm not able to do that demo, but if you have the battery in your vehicle, you can actually help maintain or even boost that battery if you run into an emergency situation. So at the beginning of this video, I promised you that we would review everything so you'd have a great understanding of how everything works. So I believe that's accomplished. But now we have the hardest part, migrating everything into my truck for an installation. So give me a few minutes. It's going to be seconds for you actually, and it'll be a little while for me, but I'll set everything up and then we'll take a look at it in the vehicle. All right, the Charger 2 is now installed and mounted in the back of my truck. So we ran the battery cables from the battery. I did have to extend them about 2 feet. So just make note of that in case you have a full-size truck like this. You might need your cables to be a little bit longer depending on placement, but you'll see where I placed mine in just a moment. Then we ran the wires down under the cab. I protected them extra with some wire loom, so I recommend that you maybe do something like that. You can never be too careful. We continued under the cab, up here, and then on my box in particular, I have some grommets. I popped out one of those grommets, drilled a hole in it, and then passed the wires through it. So not only do I have the sheathing or the wire loom, but I have a grommet, so a plastic interface, so when the cables go into the box, they're not gonna chafe on the metal. Then we go from there into the box, so let's take a look. Now I turn my cargo lighting on in advance, just to add the extra effect, but let's have a look here. So I got the fridge plugged in, power station, got the Charger 2 right there in the middle, and then we have our Hub D1 sitting right here, very accessible. Let me show you a couple things. Now you can mount the Hub D1 wherever you want, but because I have MOLLE panels, I could even go in from the side. It just fits, and it's nice and sturdy. So really it's up to you how you want to do it, but I'm very proud of that mount right there because I feel that it's nice keeping the wires tidy and in behind everything. I think it's a pretty solid install. Okay, I think now's a good time to do a demonstration. You probably noticed my app is in dark mode now, so that's an option that you have. Our battery says 56%. That's this battery here, this power station. We're using it as an external battery. And then we have the Charger 2 ready to go. We are going to charge my vehicle's battery, but let's have a look at it first. Right now you see the vehicle battery sitting at 11.8 volts. That's because I have all these cargo lights on and I've been working on the truck for a while, setting everything up, so I've started to deplete my battery. Well, one of the cool things with this system is we can recharge the battery right from here. So let's use reverse charging mode. We'll just go to our settings, go to reverse charging, and then we have different options: trickle, pulse, which is more of a maintenance feature, and then we have top up. I'm going to do top up. I'm going to adjust it to around 150 watts. We'll do 149. The display on the BLUETTI here just went to sleep. This is something you can set on a timer. Mine's about a minute and the display goes off, but it's still on with this green light. So you can see here that we have 100 to 300 watts in regular mode, or we can go pro mode, which would give us access to more power. I don't need to boost the battery, I just want to top it up. So we're going to leave it there. So we're going to hit enable, and then we're going to leave here, and then we're going to turn charging on. So you can hear the fan kick in. And you can see the flow of the current from the 56% into the Charger 2, and then an orange animation going into the vehicle's battery. We click on the vehicle battery. Look at that, we're at 12.3 volts. That means it's giving it some current, so we can start to recharge it. Now it's at 12.4 volts. And it will automatically stop when the battery is charged, or we can shut it off at any time. So I'm going to shut it off first. Then I'm going to go back into the settings and make sure that it is disabled. I think that is a really cool feature. And while we're here, we'll do a little test with the Hub D1 and power up this fridge. Really simple. All we need to do is turn on charging. There it's on, 56%, 56%. So you know this is what's talking to that. And now you can see the power is flowing out into the Charger 2, and then it's going out any connections that we may have. In this case, we have the DC panel, but we're not drawing any watts yet. That's because it's not turned on. So let's turn it on, and momentarily the compressor on this fridge should turn on. Okay, starting to power up. Maybe you can hear that. And now we can see that we're drawing 58 watts. So the panel's getting DC power. If we click on the DC panel, we can get a little more information, and we can see 35 watts, 54.8 volts, and 0.65 amps of current. That's how much current this is drawing. Now it's as simple as turning this off, and we cut power to the fridge. Now my setup here, I've got a multi panel. So I've got these nice brackets that actually fit in here, and the screw holes really lined up. I had to bore the hole out a little bit larger to fit the screw, but I think it looks nice and tidy. And then my power station, I have these T-mat blocks that can help me put anything on this mat so then it doesn't go anywhere. And I did the same thing for the fridge. And you probably noticed my box cover didn't get in the way of any of it. So really cool. A couple more learnings I had in this setup is if I have this turned off, so the battery or the power station is turned off, then I need to disconnect the cable beforehand, because if it thinks something's connected, it's having trouble communicating with it, and you'll just get an alarm. It's just a notification in the app. It's nothing to worry about. And if you're wondering if you just have this connected to the vehicle, but you have no other batteries or power sources, this light will still glow. It'll eventually go into sleep mode, and you can just tap the button to wake it back up. But this draws very, very little current, so you shouldn't have to worry about it depleting your starter battery. And if you're worried, you could always disconnect it. Okay, we're outside, vehicle's running. So one thing you need to do for sure, and I just want to revisit it with you because I never showed it before, is in the advanced settings, you want to make sure that your battery is set to the right type. So I set mine to AGM instead of lead acid or lithium iron phosphate, because we're no longer connected to that BLUETTI battery in my garage. So we're going to leave it on AGM. This is going to be important so the Charger 2 knows exactly what it's connected to. And then our generator settings is our alternator. We have a standard alternator, not a smart alternator, so we're going to leave it on standard. And now the Charger 2 will know how to behave. So now I'm going to turn on charging in order to charge my battery or the BLUETTI power station in the back. Turn it on the charging, and then you should see wattage be drawn from my starter battery in the vehicle. There, it just jumped up to 471. If we click it, you see 496 watts, 12.9 volts, 38 amps. And right now I'm just idling. You can see my idle there, sitting about 600 RPM. And then I can increase the RPMs. And the wattage increases a little bit, not much. Now my alternator has a 170 amp output. I've got a lot of headroom still, but we are not using the alternator near its full capacity. You have to love technology. I have an aftermarket screen, installed the app on it. Now I can control everything from here. So I'm gonna go for a drive. I'm gonna turn on charging. And I'm also going to turn on my DC hub so we can run the fridge at the same time, and we'll see what effect that has on the draw. Okay, fridge is kicking on now. Let's go for a drive. It's keeping steady. So with the vehicle running, we are getting 573 watts here. We can get up to 800. I don't have it on a higher charging range. I want to play it safe, keep it a little lower. But if we were parked with the vehicle running and we had the solar panels, this would be up to 1200 watts total by combining the solar input, which is 0 right now, with the alternator output. So on the vehicle battery, you can see we are drawing about 41 amps. Well, I have reached my destination. I'm going to turn off the charging. It was important to me to show you what this is like working in a vehicle. So some final thoughts. I actually looked into the Charger 1 last year and I decided to wait because I was told that a Charger 2 was coming out. And I have to say, I do like the meaningful updates and extra things that you can now do with this device. I like that BLUETTI focused on flexibility here. The fact that you can adjust your alternator input, you have solar support, you can use your app to see everything, and it works on a variety of vehicles, and they really didn't overcomplicate it with the install. So I'd like to thank BLUETTI for allowing me to try this product just before it hits the market. I'm going to leave all the information in the video description below. Definitely check it out if you want to learn more. But if you like this video, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing, and we'll talk to you next time.